Okay, for telling my parents they ruined New Year's Eve after they kicked my husband out over a joke? Hi Reddit, I'm really torn up about this and need some outside perspective because my family's giving me the cold shoulder, and I'm starting to wonder if I'm in the wrong here. This whole mess happened on New Year's Eve, and it's been a few days of radio silence from my parents and my brother. I'll try to lay this out as clearly as I can, but I'm kinda all over the place emotionally, so bear with me. For context, I'm 34F, married to my second husband Mike, 36M, for 4 years now. My parents, 60M/F, hosted a big NYE dinner at their place, and my brother Ethan, 38M, and his wife Sarah, 37F, were there too, along with their adopted son Joey, 5M. The fight was about a joke Mike made, and it spiraled into a whole thing where my parents kicked him out, and I ended up telling them they ruined the holiday. Now nobody's talking to me, and I'm wondering if I'm the asshole for how I handled it. Let's start with some background because I think it matters. Mike is a total jokester. Like, the guy lives for a good laugh. He's always been the life of the party, cracking one-liners or doing goofy impressions to get people smiling. I love that about him. It's one of the reasons I fell for him after my first marriage ended. That's a whole other story, but let's just say my ex was the opposite of fun. Mike's humor can be a bit edgy sometimes, but he's not mean-spirited. He just loves getting a reaction, you know? Like, he'll tease you until you roll your eyes or laugh despite yourself. Most people in our friend group eat it up, and he's usually pretty good at reading the room. Usually. My brother Ethan, on the other hand, is more serious. He's the kind of guy who plans everything out, always has a to-do list, and gets stressed if things don't go according to schedule. Growing up we were close, but we've always been opposites. I'm more go with the flow, while he's Mr. Responsible. He and Sarah have been married for about 8 years, and they've had a tough road. They tried for years to have kids but couldn't, which was really hard on them. I remember Sarah crying at family dinners a few times when people would ask about kids, and Ethan would just shut down. It was rough. 2 years ago they adopted Joey, who's this super sweet, energetic kid. He's brought so much joy to their lives and honestly to the whole family. My parents adore him, and I love being his cool aunt who sneaks him extra cookies. Here's where things get tricky. Mike and Ethan have this weird dynamic. Mike loves teasing Ethan because Ethan's so easy to rile up. Like, Ethan will get all huffy, and Mike thinks it's hilarious. For a while, Ethan played along, even dishing it back sometimes. They joke about dumb stuff like Ethan's obsession with his lawn or Mike's questionable taste in craft beer. But over the last year or so, Ethan's been less cool with it. I think it started when Mike began making jokes about Joey's adoption. Not mean ones, at least I don't think they were mean. They were silly, like, "Oh, Joey's so good at soccer, his bio parents must have been pro athletes." Or, "Bet Joey's bio dad was a chef, look at how he scarfs down pizza." Stuff like that. Mike swears he's just messing around trying to get a laugh, and he's not targeting Joey or anything. He's never said anything in front of Joey either. It's always when it's just adults. I noticed Ethan and Sarah getting annoyed about it a few months ago. Like, at a family barbecue last summer, Mike made some comment about Joey's mystery genes, making him good at climbing trees, and Sarah gave this tight smile and changed the subject. Later, Ethan pulled me aside and said Mike's jokes were starting to bug them. He said adoption is a sensitive topic, and even if Mike doesn't mean harm, it feels like he's trivializing something serious. I totally got where he was coming from, so I talked to Mike that night. I told him to cool it with the adoption jokes because it was clearly hitting a nerve. Mike was surprised. He said he thought Ethan was just playing along with the banter. He promised to tone it down, and I thought that was that. Fast forward to New Year's Eve. My parents always go all out for NYE. It's their thing. Big dinner, fancy table settings, the works. This year it was me, Mike, Ethan, Sarah, Joey, my parents, and a couple family friends. Mom spent all day cooking this amazing spread. Roast beef, mashed potatoes, green beans, homemade rolls, the whole 9 yards. We were all in a great mood, laughing, catching up, and Joey was running around showing everyone his new toy truck. Mike was on good behavior for most of the night, cracking his usual jokes but nothing too out there. I was honestly relieved because I'd been a little nervous after the barbecue incident. Then we're sitting down for dinner, and Mike decides it's time for a classic. He looks at Ethan, grins and goes, "Knock knock." Ethan, who's already had a couple of glasses of wine, laughs and says, "Who's there?" Mike says, "Joey's bio parents," and bursts out laughing like it's the funniest thing ever. The table goes dead silent, like you could hear a pin drop. Ethan's face just changes. His smile vanishes and he looks pissed. Sarah mutters, "You're such an idiot," under her breath, but loud enough for everyone to hear. Mike, still chuckling, says, "Hey, relax, it was just a joke." And that's when things went south. Ethan snapped. He didn't yell, but his voice was sharp, like, "You think that's funny? You keep bringing this up, and it's not a fucking joke." Ethan never swears, so this was a big deal. Sarah jumped in, saying Mike was disrespectful and that they've asked him to stop before. Mike looked genuinely confused and said, "Come on, it's not like I said anything about Joey. It's just a dumb knock-knock joke." I tried to jump in and de-escalate, saying something like, "Okay, let's all take a breath, Mike didn't mean anything by it." But then my mom, who's usually the peacemaker, shocked me. She stood up and said, "Mike, you need to leave. Now." I was floored, like kicking him out. Over a joke. I get that it was a bad call, but it felt so extreme. I tried to reason with her, saying, "Mom, come on, let's just talk this out. He didn't mean to upset anyone." But she was firm, and my dad backed her up, saying Mike had crossed a line and ruined the night. Mike grabbed his coat, muttering about how everyone was overreacting, and I followed him out because, well, he's my husband. I wasn't going to let him leave alone. As we were walking to the car, he was ranting about how Ethan and Sarah are too sensitive and how my parents blew it out of proportion. I was upset too, but I was also mad at him for not listening when I told him to drop those kinds of jokes. When we got home, I called my mom to try to smooth things over. I told her Mike felt bad, which, okay, he didn't explicitly say, but I know he didn't mean to hurt anyone. I said maybe kicking him out was a bit much and that they escalated things unnecessarily. I told her they ruined New Year's by making a big deal out of it instead of just talking to him. She got super mad and said I was delusional for defending him. She said Mike's joke was hurtful, especially because Ethan and Sarah have been open about how sensitive the adoption topic is. She said the whole family was uncomfortable, and by defending Mike, I was basically saying their feelings didn't matter. Then she hung up on me. I tried texting Ethan to apologize and see if we could talk, but he hasn't responded. It's been days, and I'm starting to feel like the bad guy here. Here's where I'm stuck. On one hand, I get that Mike's joke was in poor taste. I told him months ago to stop with the adoption stuff, and he didn't listen. I'm frustrated with him for that, and we've had a few tense conversations about it since then. He still insists it was just a joke and that Ethan and Sarah need to lighten up, which, yeah, not helping. But on the other hand, I feel like my parents went nuclear by kicking him out in front of everyone. It was humiliating for both of us, and it turned what was supposed to be a fun family night into a total disaster. I think they could have handled it differently, like pull him aside and tell him to knock it off instead of making a scene. And now they're acting like I'm the bad guy for saying they overreacted. I'm not saying Mike was right, but I don't think I'm wrong for pointing out that they made it worse. I've been overthinking this non-stop. Like, did I mess up by defending Mike? Should I have stayed at the dinner and let him leave alone? I tried to text Sarah to apologize for Mike's joke, but she hasn't replied either. I feel like I'm caught in the middle, trying to keep the peace, but now everyone's mad at me. Mike's still grumbling about how unfair it was, and I'm starting to wonder if I'm the only one who sees both sides here. I just want my family to talk to me again, but I don't know if I should apologize or stand my ground. So, Reddit aita for telling my parents they ruined New Year's by kicking Mike out over a joke? Or am I missing something here? Okay, I know this is already long, but let me add a bit more context because I feel like it's relevant. Mike's humor has always been a bit of a thing with my family. When we first started dating, my parents thought he was hilarious. He'd do these goofy impressions of my dad's old boss or tell dumb dad jokes that had everyone cracking up. But over time, I think they started to see his humor as less charming. Like at my cousin's wedding 2 years ago, he made a joke during the toast about the groom's bad dancing, and it landed kind of awkwardly. My mom later told me some people thought it was inappropriate, but Mike brushed it off, saying it was just a roast. I think that's when my parents started to see him as maybe a bit too loose with his jokes. Ethan and Mike's dynamic has also gotten weirder over time. They used to get along great. Ethan even helped Mike fix his car once, and they'd bond over football. But after Joey came into the picture, Ethan's been more protective, and I think Mike's teasing feels more personal to him now. I've tried talking to Mike about it, but he gets defensive and says he's just being himself. He's like, if they can't handle a little humor, that's their problem. I love him, but I wish he'd see how his words land sometimes. As for me, I feel like I'm stuck playing referee. I've always been the one in the family who tries to keep everyone happy. Growing up, I'd mediate when Ethan and my parents fought over his curfew or whatever. Now it feels like I'm doing the same thing, but it's harder because it's my husband versus my family. I don't want to pick sides, but I feel like my parents and Ethan are forcing me to. And honestly, I'm kind of mad at Mike too for putting me in this position. Like, dude, I told you to stop with those jokes. But I also feel like my parents didn't need to humiliate him like that. There had to be a better way. I keep replaying the dinner in my head. The way Ethan's face fell when Mike told the joke. The way Sarah's voice shook when she called him out. It's all stuck with me. But I also can't shake the image of my mom standing up, pointing at the door, and telling Mike to leave like he was some stranger. Felt so cold. And the family friends at the table just sat there, looking awkward, which made it worse. Joey was in the other room playing, thank God, but I worry he overheard something. I just want to fix this, but I don't know how. I've been checking my phone constantly, hoping Ethan or my mom will text back. I even thought about showing up at their house to talk, but Mike says that's a bad idea and I should let them cool off. He's still annoyed, saying stuff like, if they're gonna be this sensitive, maybe we shouldn't go to family stuff anymore. I don't want that. I love my family and I want us all to get along. But right now, it feels like I'm the one taking all the heat for trying to defend both sides. So yeah, that's the whole story. I know it's a lot, but I'm really struggling here. For what I said to my parents. Should I just apologize and move on? Or is there a way to make them see my side? Any advice on how to fix this mess would be appreciated too. Thanks for reading this novel of a post.